Okay, this is an instructional video on the magnitude of slope. In this activity, you will identify when a line is steeper than another line by comparing equations, or comparing sets of points. So here, if you look, and I tried to color code it, you can see there's two lines. The green is solid and the orange is dashed. So when we look at it, which one do you think is like more steep, more hard? Like I think of when I steep is harder to walk up it. So I'm looking at the green one, which is the solid line. So I'm going to say solid line, and now we have to prove it. Okay, so if we go down here and we do the slope of the solid line, first we do rise over run. So we're going to, and these all squares are worth 1 point. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We go up, so that's positive, and we go over 1. Okay, which is positive. The slope of the dashed line, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if you find it easier and helpful, I suggest you get some colored pencils and you can pause the video and color code. Okay, so now we know that the absolute value, this is equal to 4. And 4 divided by 7, let me do that really quick. So 4 divided by 7 is 0.66. So remember, this means absolute value. So if we look at 4 or 0.66, we know that 4 is larger. So therefore, it is a more solid line. Okay? And this is the decimal form. Okay? And now if we go to the next one, and again, we look at the dashed or the solid, which line do you think is steeper? Now, this one's a little bit harder to figure out. And remember, it doesn't matter if it's going positive or negative. It can be steeper either way, okay? So I'm just going to hazard a guess and say dashed. And now we are going to prove it, okay? So if we do this, we're going to look at the solid line, which is green. We're going to take the 2 points and you go up 1, 2. And we go over 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that's a positive. Then we are going to go do the dash line, and we're going to count. So here's your 2 points. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because that's where it intersects with this point. So we went down, so that's a negative number. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a positive number. So this is 0.66, and this is a negative 1. But if we do in the absolute value, which tells us the steepness, 1 is greater than 0.66, so we guessed right, okay? So I'm going to leave this here for a minute. Remember, you can pause it if you want to color code it. If it helps you, you don't have to use orange and green. You can use red and purple if you want. Okay, we're going to go on to the next page. And here, using the slope formula, we're going to calculate each line. So remember, we know the formula for calculating slope is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1 equals. So I'm going to just label these x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so we have 10 minus 5, and we have negative 2 minus 2. So this gives you 5 over negative 4. Again, we have the slope formula, and I recommend using it because I believe it helps you put the right numbers in the right places, and that's why I always do this. I label the coordinates, x1, y1, x2, y2. So here again, we have y2 is minus 10 minus 1. Then we have negative 3 minus 3. So negative 10 minus 1 is 11, which is negative 11, and negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Okay? Now, which line do you think is steeper, A or B? So if we have 5 over 4, which is negative, we get this, if we put it in decimal form, I find it easier to look at it this way. And then if we take 11 over negative 6, we know that becomes 11 over 6 because that is negative divided by negative is a positive. And this gives us 1.83, and I've already done the calculation. So if we look at the absolute value, 1.25, and we look at the absolute value, 1.83, which one's higher? B, A, or B? So I think it's line B because 1.83 is greater than 1.25. Now, when selecting between two lines, how can you tell from the slope which one is steeper? We just did it, okay? Take the absolute value of the slope, and let me pull this up again so you can read it. Take the absolute value of the slope, whichever slope has the greater absolute, and that's an R, is the steeper line. Now, just to remember, the absolute value is not negative or positive. Notice we got rid of the negative and just became 1.25. Just for a quick review, if you had 0, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. If you look at 1, 2, and 3, these are the 3 and the negative 3 are the same distance from 0. So the absolute 0 of 3 and negative 3 is 3. Just to review that. Okay? Of negative 3 and 3. Okay? Now, when selecting between two lines, how can you tell from the slope which is flatter? So if we know that it's steeper with a larger absolute value, then we know you take the absolute of the slope whichever slope has the least absolute value is the flatter line. Okay, so the least is flatter, the greater is steeper. Okay, let me pull this up a minute so you can take the notes. Okay, now the next one we're going to do, and I've already done some of it so that you can see where we're getting it. And remember, this is something you're going to learn. This slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, the m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. And we know that the y-intercept is when 0, the x is 0, this is the number, whatever the number is going to be here. So if we look at this, we know this is the slope and this is the y-intercept. So 0 is 4. And then we take the equation, okay? And I've done for 0, I've done it for 3, and I've done it for negative 3. So if you take the equation 2/3 x plus 4, and then you say 2/3 times 0, because that's what this means, they're side by side. So 2/3 times 0 plus 4 equals 0 plus 4 equals 4. 2/3 times 3, and I put a 3 over 1 so that I know that I can multiply 2 times 3 and 3 times 1 plus 4. So 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 4. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, so 2 plus 4 is 6. Then 2/3 times -3, taking the -3, over 1 plus 4 equals -3 times 2 is -6, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 4. -6 divided by 3 is -2 plus 4, which equals 2. Okay? Now when we go to graph it, we're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again the units are worth 1. And then we're going to go 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then -3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go up 2, 1, 2. Okay? And then you can always connect the dots. Okay? And then another way you can check if this slope 2/3 is correct is you're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So it is 2 over 3. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is -5 over 2 x plus 7. So we know that 0 is the y-intercept, so we know that's 7. And how we can check that is, now here's the original equation, right here. -5 2 over 2 times 0, which is x, plus 7. So 0 plus 7 is 7. You take the next x value. So I like to put it 2 over 1, because you multiply -5 times 2, 2 times 1. So I just, when you multiply, remember you can just cross these two out. So it becomes -5 over 1, which is -5, plus 7 gives you 2. -5 over 2 times 4 over 1, we're using the x, so it's -20 over 2. -5 times 4 is -20. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 7 equals, and we're going to simplify it, it's -10 because 20 divided by 2 is 10, and you keep the negative sign. So -10 plus 7 equals -3. So now we're going to plot them, and it's 0, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It should be a 5. Okay, so then we're going to do 2, 1, 2, and we're going to go up 2, 1, 2. And then we're going to do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to go -3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to draw the line. And it's saying it's -5 over 2. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2. So that's what it's doing. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we go down here and we go over 2. So it's -5 over 2. So we did it this way. Yeah, I got it. Hopefully so we went down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and went over 2. So it's -5 over 2. We proved it by drawing it, and we proved it by the math. Okay? And we're going to pause for part 2. I'll see you in a few.